Hello.
One capo.
Welcome to Marvel Time Live, issue number 86. Every time I see that number and like update it every week, I can't believe we've done this many.
We wasted a lot of time on this. Okay.
So we're going to talk about some more Marvel comics this week. We are going to go through some of the latest Marvel news and, of course, break down the latest episode of Moon Knight as well. But let's jump into our comics first, starting with XMen number 10. It feels like every week we have a XMen adjacent book these days. But and we're pretty XMen heavy this week, too. We'll get into another issue later on. But XMen number 10, what did you think?
It was okay. It was fine. It was not that crazy. It still kind of blows. Like when I hear the name Wolverine, I still think Logan.
Right.
As do my dogs apparently. But yeah, what do you think?
I'm with you. I think, okay and fine are kind of words to describe it. This was one that, like, if you take it at face value, it's fairly simple. It's a self-contained, issue here. It's just that when you think of like all of the other mutant-related books we've been reading lately, there's just so many other things going on that we've gotten to the point where, like, I don't even know what's happening with the X-Men right now. There's just so many other things happening that I didn't remember where we left off with these characters. And so I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. But again, with just this issue, if you kind of just black out everything else happening with Krakoa and all of that, this issue is fine. It's kind of hard to piece it all together sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of, when we read Ten of Swords and everything kind of led one into another, and there were different books, but, there was some continuity there.
Mm-hmm.
In the back, it makes it, lists like, okay, next you read this, but they're not connected necessarily. Right. I mean, same world, but not same story, which is, probably a lot easier to write and, gives the writer some freedom. But there's just so much that's been, the world shifts so fast, the Krakoa situation, that it's hard to kind of grasp where any book is. I think about when you read the trades of this, it's like, you're going to need to know exactly what's happening in Krakoa at the time this run happened, or this,
right,
story arc. So but that's not new.
And that's only going to get maybe more complicated with the other issue we talk about. But I do want to mention before we move off of this one too, that I really enjoyed the art of this issue here. And this is one of my favorite covers in a while too. It's very simple, but that kind of goes along with what this issue is. It's fairly simple. So, but yeah, I like that aspect of it for sure. As for our next issue, we are preparing for Judgment Day and getting into Eternals number 11 here as they cross over with the Avengers, as you can see on the cover here, with a very disguised Eternal on the cover. But I'm curious to know what you think about this issue, because I expected to really like this and get excited for this upcoming event, and it didn't really land for me.
Well, so I actually had to read it twice because I'm used to the Eternals being kind of heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And this book has a lot of humor in it.
Yeah.
And I was reading it as ominous, and then I realized, wait, that's supposed to be a joke. And so I actually started over because I was like, hang on, which made me appreciate it more. And now, granted, we haven't read this Eternals run really. Right. So, you do have a little bit of like, where am I? And, but, it was fine. Once again, but like, I didn't dislike it. It's the same problem. These sort of Eternals, I'll even say, like, going to DC, New Gods, or, these big sort of mythological creature, mythological sort of demigods or whatever. The pantheon is so wide and they go through so much that you don't even really know where anyone is at any given point unless you really are paying attention. And we read 5 comics a week, and by the time we get around to this book again, you'll be like, wait, well, where were we? So you have Thanos kind of doing his Thanos thing. There's some great scripting. I will say, the dialogue is great. It's just more of we have Judgment Day coming, but I'm not quite sure how this leads into it.
Yeah, that was one of the big notes I had on this was I'm not sure. I mean, it even tells you on the cover here, Judgment Day is coming, but don't know what this is, how this is connected, where the mutants come in.
And this is not an issue where this intro page really helped all that much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it really didn't. Like you said, like we haven't really been reading this ongoing series, so there is that element of we don't know the story that's been ongoing with these characters. I do want to mention too that these characters in this Eternal story here are very much like the ones from the movie, which is not always the case with the Eternals. Kyle just dropped a comment that ruined a joke that I was going to make later on. But, I'll throw that up there for you. But yeah, so I guess I kind of like that it's the movie version of these characters because that's more relatable to most of the people that are going to pick this up, especially with a big crossover event coming up.
Well, that's kind of where I struggled a bit. Was I'm glad they did that, but I didn't get the memo, and so I was still trying to go like using the comics version that were in my head from that pretty depressing run that was right before this, where everyone was dead. And I mean, you get to a place where you kind of know you can use the movie as a shorthand, which is not typical for a book like Eternal. So I'm glad they did that. I'm just needing to recalibrate to know, okay, these are basically the Eternals from the movie.
Right. Yeah. And we'll see. I'm excited to see where this crossover event. I'm just not sure how we bridge the gap from this issue to that. But, benefit of the doubt, I'm still looking forward to it. Let's get into our next issue, which also surprised me a little bit this week, but in the good way. I wasn't expecting to like Elektra number 100 as much as I did. I really enjoyed this. What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I mean, to me, cover galleries are the biggest racket in comics because like, oh, here's 4 pages of covers, but I thought the Typhoon Lagoon story, the Typhoid Mary story was really good and kind of gave a different perspective on what happened in Devil's Reign, especially at the end there.
Yeah, definitely.
But, and I like some of the sort of fun comics they put at the end of these, 100, those 2-page spreads of, but yeah, I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Elektra is still never going to be like my top 10 characters, but and the art style took me a little bit to get used to, particularly because I was coming from that Devil's Reign look, which is very different. Not bad or better or worse, just different. So you kind of have to rejigger your brain a little bit. But I enjoyed it.
It was a little cartoonish, I guess is a good word for this one. Yeah, I totally agree. Elektra has never been one of my favorite characters, but to me, what drew me into this issue, Typhoid Mary was so much more interesting in this issue to me than any other story we read before. And like you said, puts a twist on Devil's Reign that we had no idea was there, and kind of makes me think differently about that whole story. It makes me want to go back and read it again because definitely adds some different context. But yeah, I really found Typhoid Mary really interesting in this issue, and I want to get more. She's not a character I've read a whole lot about. A few issues here and there with Daredevil, and then all this recent stuff with Kingpin. But now I want to go back and read more about that character, and so that succeeded in that mission with this issue. And I enjoyed the art style. I liked it, and then those bonus comics at the end they were fantastic. They were really, really funny. Moving on to our 4th issue here, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. This is the Lost in the Spider-Verse story arc. but I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's a very big story arc. It kind of feels like it's moving very quickly in and out of it. But I will say I really enjoyed this issue, and this is my pick of the week.
Oh, interesting. I got major Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, No Way Home vibes from this. Yeah. Different characters, but it was definitely sort of like battle through, sort of a negaverse or whatever,
right?
Those kind of universes. And sets up a big tease at the end. I mean, a big sort of reveal at the end, of a plot that I thought was done. Apparently not. For the better. It kind of makes the whole thing worthwhile. But
right.
Tying it into the clone saga that we had here, the Miles Morales clone saga.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say I enjoyed it. I'm more excited about what's coming next than necessarily. This would have been my number 2 issue. I mean, no question, but not my pick of the week.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. Most other weeks, this is probably not my pick of the week, but this was sort of an up and down kind of week with not really going an extreme in either direction. But also, it came a lot of like I read this right after Eternals, and that felt like a very long, sort of drawn out read. And this was just, like I was in and out real quick. This one was a very easy, simple read. Miles is such an easy character to read. His dialogue feels so natural. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's lighthearted. And yeah, it does have that multiverse, No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness kind of vibe, which coming off of, No Way Home just released on Blu-ray, so I'm sure I'm not the only one who watched it last night. So it kind of flowed very well from that. But and I totally agree too that I'm excited for where this is going because, like you, I did not see that coming at all, and really interested to see the continuation of this arc now. Because it definitely took a turn that I had this going one way in my head. I mean, he's looking for his uncle. I expected a Prowler story coming up. Mm-hmm. We are taking a turn here, and I'm really interested.
Yeah, me too.
And our final issue of the week, one that I was probably the most excited for, this is X-Men 92, number 1, House of 92, by the way, too, which sort of that House of X kind of play there. This was not what I expected. I'll say that. I did enjoy it, but it was not what I expected. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Obviously, this is I set you up once again. I mean,
my pick of the week. So this is different. This is a weird book, and you have to get your head sort of around it. This is not in the main 616 universe. This is the X-Men of the 92 animated series. However, dealing with the things that the X-Men of today in the comics are dealing with. So they're on Krakoa, they're fighting Orchid, all that stuff. But it's done as if it was an episode of the 92 or, a saga in the 92 animated series. Mm-hmm. So to me, so you have to know what it doesn't explain that that's what this is, right? But that's what it is. And once you know that's what it is, to me, it makes the whole Krakoa thing make a lot more sense. Because if it's done in the 22-minute animated series style of versions of characters I know better than any sort of comic run, then okay, now I get it. I mean, it's a little different. It's like, it's. I'm trying to think it's like watching the Ewoks movies. It's not the same, but same kind of universe, but different. And to me, it was I understood. Once the plot of the issue, I get. And then there was that night. If you read the other X-Men 92 series, this kind of leads out of that. No, and it was just fun to be with mutants that I know.
Yes.
And not, it's the Magneto I know, it's the Professor X I know. And no, I don't want all comics to always be stuck in 1992 or, but there's so many mutants that sometimes it's nice to just kind of bring it home a little bit. And I really enjoyed that here.
Yeah. And there are still some that are included that that you didn't see in the X-Men animated series that are more present day, and they brought them in, and it's cool to see them mixed in with this art style, which feels very 90s. I mean, this is nostalgia, like just thrown at you again and again throughout this entire issue. But yeah, I was with you. I was surprised. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. Still, I'm working on it. But I was surprised by this because we've talked about X-Men Legends in the past. That sort of almost an anthology series kind of thing that they have going on, where they're going back to these classic stories and just continuing them from there. And that's what I was expecting out of this. But that's not what we got. We got, present day stories with these 92 characters. So that was a really interesting, surprise that kind of caught me off guard. But that being said, I totally agree. I love that we focused on the X-Men team that I'm most familiar with, I should say. The characters are a little bit different. Charles Xavier, obviously, heading up Krakoa still is going to kind of be a mashup of that present day character versus the 92 character. So, I mean, it's a really interesting mashup, this story here, and I'm interested to see where it goes. They've set up some interesting things. I just hope that they can keep it a bit simpler and stick to more of that 92 storytelling as opposed to the current storytelling, and not get too out of hand.
I agree.
So that is those are our comics for this week. On Disney Plus, we had some more new Marvel content. The third episode of Moon Knight. What did you think of this episode? I mean, this is so hard for us because we've seen 4, and now we're trying to go back and talk about 3.
Yeah, I rewatched 3 today.
Yeah,
and you guys have no idea what's coming. I mean, I hope you don't. If you got spoiled, shame on whoever. But you guys have no idea what's coming in episode 4. And so watching episode 3 again, you're just like, I just want to get to episode 4. Like, I want to relive episode 4. But, there's some great, what I appreciated this time is the action choreography. I mean, when you watch a Marvel show, I think sometimes the first time, whether it's a movie or show, first time you're focused on what does it mean, what's the continuity, what's like, you don't really appreciate the craftsmanship as much. At least that's, it's a fault. It's probably an occupational fault of us having to like review it and live it every day. But, it's like, oh, so what does this mean for the next movie? Like, what's going to happen? Like, and really, it kind of takes you away from enjoying the moment. So watching it again, made me appreciate some of the characterization a lot more than I originally appreciated. I think particularly in this episode, Layla has some great stuff.
Yeah.
And that it didn't really sink in the first time. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there are 2 sort of big plot points, because this episode to me, I don't want to say it was filler because that comes with this negative connotation, but I think it was necessary filler. We haven't gotten to see a whole lot of Moon Knight action, especially we haven't seen him at all against other people. And so that, that's sort of a thing that this character is known for, is his violence towards other people. And so getting to see some of that, that gave us more of the character, which was good to see. But there are 2 major plot points, I think, that came out of this, aside from, the normal continuation of the story. But one is what you said. There's a lot of good stuff with Layla here. And there's this moment where Harrow is trying to cause this rift between Layla and Mark, and kind of teases a little bit of history that we don't really know about in the show yet. But if you've read comics, you probably know where that's going. So that is really interesting. I like that they're building that up. And the other thing is there's a lot of, Mark and Steven blackout moments. They're switching between, and Mark keeps waking up in different situations. But he wakes up and it wasn't him, nor was it Steven that was in control of the body. There's something else going on there. So I'm really interested to see, is this our Moon Knight version of Jake Lockley? If that's the case, it's a very different version. So maybe they're going a different direction. I'm not sure, but they've definitely set something interesting up there too.
Did you find a QR code?
That was another point I was going to bring up. Is I did not find this week's QR code. If anybody has seen it yet, please let me know, and I will share that information. But I haven't found it. No, I didn't pay close attention to that specifically as I was going through my recap, focusing more on the actual big picture stuff. But no, I haven't had time to go back and find that QR code yet. But yeah, really liking Moon Knight, and man, next week is going to be just crazy. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's next week, man.
All right, let's get into some Marvel news. And the first thing, we're going to jump from Moon Knight. We're going to go to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is creeping up on us here. There was an interview with director Sam Raimi, and he shared some interesting stuff that, at least one big sort of plot point that I wasn't really expecting to learn before the movie came out. But he did tell us that there's going to be multiple versions of Wanda. We knew there were going to be multiple versions of Doctor Strange in this movie, but now multiple versions of Wanda as well. That is a recipe for chaos right there.
So I guess I'm going to say about this movie that is a little bit inside baseball, but so typically Mac will go see a screening of a film before the junket, then they'll have a chance to go to a press conference or interview people from the film, and then the movie will come out and there'll be an embargo and that'll be it. For this film, they're not going to actually show you the movie. They're going to show you selections from the film, which is something similar to what they did to a lot of Star Wars films like Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, and everything like that, presumably in an attempt to prevent spoilers. And then there will be a screening on May 2nd, basically the day before, or a day and a half before the movie releases in theaters. And then you'll get to see the movie and do your formal review with like a 12-hour turnaround, or less than that, like an 8-hour turnaround. So presumably they're concerned about spoilers here.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. It makes your job harder, but it's exciting that there's something to protect.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, there are the popular theories out there that, just like with No Way Home, it felt like a sure thing that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were going to be in that movie. There are a few things that feel like sure things right now with this movie, but that makes me think that there are probably some other surprises tucked in there as well. And with the nature of this story, I think there's so many possibilities. Limitless, really. Like if you think about it, it's the multiverse, so limitless possibilities. But I was interested to hear that we're going to see versions of Wanda, especially with the hints of her being a Nexus being in WandaVision, and that that she was going to be basically this fixed point in the multiverse. But really interested to see what that means. The other big point from this interview with Sam Raimi, he didn't close the door on another future Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire and himself. He directed the original Spider-Man trilogy starring Tobey Maguire, and he is open to doing more of that in the future. And he said too that making Doctor Strange made him realize that anything is possible. So I thought that was a pretty interesting quote coming from a director like Sam Raimi.
Speaking of Spider-Man, I forget where I was. I was in Chicago, and they had a billboard for the digital release or Blu-ray or whatever it was, and they had the 3 Spider-Man up there. And I was like, oh my gosh, spoiler. And then I realized they're probably changing the marketing a little bit for the home video.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think given the box office numbers, I think it's safe to assume that everyone has seen this movie already. So
Omicron thanks you.
Other Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness news, we got character posters. Nothing groundbreaking there. I mean,
I hate character posters.
I know.
You always got to talk about it, but you're like, yep, that looks like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, these are the characters we knew were going to be in the movie. I will say, I got a text from a friend you just sent me the America Chavez poster and was just like, who is this? And I'm like, she's been in all the marketing to this point, but this is a character. This is who she is in the comics. And so, yeah, still cool that, you get, it's really cool for someone like Xochitl Gomez, who is playing, her first major role, and here's her character poster. So.
Well, and they're cooler in like practice where you can go someplace and there's like 12 posters and
that's true too.
It's the reveal of them. You're like, oh my gosh, they released the character posters, and like sometimes they'll throw you a surprise, but most of the time it's like, yep, that's Benedict Cumberbatch.
Right.
Benedict Cumberbatch, and
yeah, it was interesting with like Endgame, where like some of them, the posters kind of revealed who got blipped and who didn't in some cases. So yeah, there was that.
Ever tell you a story about the press junket for that one?
No.
About the t-shirts. So you could pick any of the characters, of the character posters. I think there were 30. I think it was 15 and 15.
Yeah, something like that.
So I asked for Happy Hogan, who was blipped, mainly because Star Wars Celebration was like the next week, and I wanted to wear my Happy Hogan shirt to the Mandalorian panel.
Okay.
Like someone, and no one mentioned a dang thing about it that I had Jon Favreau on my chest. But yeah, that's my story.
Well, you were probably the only person that asked for the Happy Hogan shirt too. So
I was, and because of that, so they would do them in batches, and so I was the last person to get my T-shirt because I was like the only one. So they did the ones that had a lot of people. So I was at the LA Convention Center for like hours waiting for a T-shirt. At which point I wanted to leave, but I didn't want to be the guy who left the T-shirt like just sitting there because I didn't have a way of.
Yeah, as somebody else who would have taken the Happy Hogan shirt, my Zacks of Life co-host who frequently drafts Happy Hogan in our Marvel drafts. Jumping from Doctor Strange to elsewhere in the MCU, we learned that Sam Bailey and Angela Barnes are going to direct Ironheart, the upcoming Disney Plus series. I'm not super familiar with their work, although I know Barnes directs the most recent season of Atlanta, the FX series starring Donald Glover, which has been high on my list for things I need to watch for a long time now. So that's pretty cool. And then also Ryan Coogler's production company Proximity will be producing this series. Don't know how much Ryan Coogler himself will be involved, but it's nice to keep that familiar team together on a project, that's getting added to the MCU library. Jumping from the MCU to Disney parks, we got to look at the cast member costumes for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
Where do you think this is? The fluorescent lighting and this is backstage. Like this isn't just. This is like being somewhat familiar with Epcot backstage. I'm like, this is just like the hallway that you walk through to get to work. Anyway.
I'm also curious about what this sign actually says. I don't know if we can see it better in the other pictures.
Oh, Xandar Expo Epcot.
Oh, Expo. I kept thinking experience, and I was like, these are just 3 different words. That's not a sentence at all. So yeah, it's this is the Cosmic Rewind cast member costume. Pretty cool, pretty basic, nothing too complex or flashy or anything like that, but kind of fits.
I think it comes across like a Epcot costume from the 80s, which is what they're trying to go for.
Right. Yeah, it works with the whole Peter Quill visiting Epcot in the 80s and all that. On the other coast, you probably heard by now, but Mr. Knight debuted in Avengers Campus. We had Mike waiting out there in the wrong spot for a while to meet with this variant Moon Knight. And this one, this isn't just Moon Knight lurking on the roof of Avengers HQ. You actually get to go and speak with Mr. Knight, and you can check out videos on Laughing Place YouTube channel. He's awesome. It's a really cool character experience, and there's a reason he was drafted very highly on Zacks of Life this past week, where we drafted the best Avengers Campus character appearances.
Oh, absolutely. I can't think of anyone I would rate higher.
Well, he was the first pick, so spoiler alert. Speaking of Mr. Knight,
second best character experience is when you go to Paris and Peter Parker has a French accent.
We may or may not have made a similar joke on Zacks of Life. So, Hasbro revealed a Mr. Knight Marvel Legends series figure with which comes with some alternate hands and that signature Moon Knight truncheon, which we haven't seen him use yet. And I'm really interested to see if he's going to jump into some fights with that truncheon. But also, the thing that I'm most excited about with this figure, because the figure is awesome. It looks so good. But the arm of the Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure is included in this one. And that Build-A-Figure is so awesome. They revealed it during one of their Fan First. They can't even call it a Fan First Friday because it's on any other day of the week but Friday these days. But one of their live streams, they revealed it probably a couple months ago now. That Build-A-Figure is awesome. And you can check out a full picture of it on laughingplace.com. Yeah, that's a really awesome piece. So excited to see this whole wave in the future. Sticking with the Hasbro bit of news here, they also revealed that they are going to release 3 Spider-Man figures based on Spider-Man No Way Home. These will be coming in 2023. So basically, you'll get your Tobey Maguire, your Andrew Garfield, and your Tom Holland Spider-Man. No specific release date just yet. Just we know 2023 as of right now.
Which one's which? I mean, I know Tom Holland's in the middle there.
Yeah. I would say that is Tobey Maguire that's Tobey Maguire on the left, Andrew Garfield on the right. The eyes are what give it away.
Yeah, I guess you're
right. Finally, we'll finish up with some comic news here. We found out that Avengers and Moon Girl #1 will be coming. This is that series of, I mean, it sounds weird, a series of one-shots. Kind of contradicts itself, but a bunch of one-shots from Moon Girl. We saw Miles Morales and Moon Girl, was that last month? And then this one will be coming in July, where Moon Girl assembles the Avengers, including Captain Marvel, as you can see there, Iron Man, Captain America. So it's going to be fun. Basically, your typical Avengers lineup with Moon Girl thrown in. And I like that combination. That should be a fun read.
Where's Devil Dinosaur? That's
a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Devil Dinosaur is even involved. It's just Avengers and Moon Girl, not Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Another interesting series that I feel like I keep falling for a trap on in these sorts of comics, but Exterminators looks and sounds awesome. This is obviously another XMen adjacent comic, but this is starring Jubilee and Wolverine, Jubilee and Wolverine and Dazzler. And let me find you the summary here. Jubilee, Boom Boom, and Dazzler are kidnapped and put into death traps by a new army of enemies that no one knows about. And they say it's going to be very, neon, fluorescent. I'm really excited for the art that we get out of this. And this cover just looks really cool.
Not for the kiddies.
We also got Avengers 1 million BC, going off of that ancient Avengers that we've seen, feels like in a bunch of different story arcs now. And this is going to shed some light on the Thor and Phoenix controversy that we got just a little taste of for a while. And it felt like that was going to be this huge story, and they kind of went away from it. And now I'm really excited to get back into some answers. I'm curious to know, is this all going to be set in 1 million BC? And I don't know how much of a story set in that time period can I really tolerate, but I am interested to get some answers. So, and I do like, I believe there's a Peach Momoko variant cover for this comic, and it looks really, really awesome. So, yeah, some really great artwork involved with this for sure.
Absolutely.
We also found out that All Out Avengers will be coming in July as well. And not a whole lot of information about this upcoming series, except that it's going to include, your favorite typical Avengers, Spider-Man, Captain America, Black Panther. plus many, many more. And they will overcome struggles to solve crazy situations caused by a deadly new Marvel villainess. So I'm interested to see this new character. But again, not a whole lot of information on this series as of yet. But again, this one actually is coming in September. So this one's still a way out. So we'll probably get a decent amount of information about it between now and then.
Yeah, they're hiding something up top there.
They're hiding what?
Something.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. And finally, we not a ton of new information here, but we did learn that Axe Judgment Day, not to be confused with Axe body spray, as Kyle stepped them up earlier. But number 1 and number 2 will both be coming in July. Still really interested to see how the X-Men are getting involved. I don't know. We've got this Avengers Eternals controversy going on right now, but it's going to get much bigger. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. See what, it's weird. It feels like the first post-pandemic crossover event. So it's like, yes, I can get excited. No supply chain issues, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for some of these other events to, continue rolling, but who knows? Let's jump into another one. Why not?
Well, I mean, what do we got going on right now? We just have Reckoning War, right?
Sure, which is, you're right, is like limited to, it's really just a Fantastic Four title. But Timeless started a while back and never really.
I feel like Timeless was just setting up the year. It wasn't like an event per se. It was just
I guess you're right. It did seem like there was a bigger story to tell with Kang, though, and I want to see more of it. So
I think you will.
And you're right. We did wrap up Devil's Reign already too. So okay, there's room. There's room for Judgment Day. Yeah, that is our Marvel news for this week. It was kind of a lot this past week here. So we are ramping up towards
a lot.
a lot. I mean, Moon Knight. I just realized that Moon Knight is going to wrap up a couple of days before Doctor Strange hits theaters, and so like that's, it's just going to get really crazy on top of all the comics that we have that same day as well. So
and a ride,
yeah, within a few weeks after that, it'll be opening to the public. So yeah, lots of Marvel stuff going on.
So I'm reading on Marvel Unlimited right now.
What's that?
Because I didn't tell you.
I can.
The whole Darkhold saga is on Marvel Unlimited. So we've read a couple issues in it. So I decided to read that whole kind of. It was, it had a beginning and an ending, and then a whole lot of one shots in the middle there. So I decided to pick that up.
Nice. Yeah, I want to. I've been meaning to get back to that Darkhold series that we read a couple of issues and talked about on here, I think. Yeah, I would definitely like to explore the Darkhold a little bit more, especially with all the stuff with Wanda coming up in Multiverse of Madness. If you missed my panel picks series, which I've revived this past Friday, I pick a favorite panel from this week in comics, and as well as a favorite from more classic comics, if you can call like 2015 classic. So I went back and I pulled one from Civil War #2, which we've talked about a bunch on here, how Civil War, the first one, is our favorite crossover series. Civil War 2 is also great. It's one of those rare circumstances where the sequel lived up to the original. It's really, really cool story. An Inhuman has the ability to get glimpses of the future. Captain Marvel wants to use this for good and prevent bad things from happening, whereas Iron Man thinks you're only going to make things worse if you try to do that. And so the two of them go to war over that. And it's a really cool concept, and the story worked really well. There's some really cool big moments, as you could see from panel picks if you check that out this past week.
Yeah, it would have been, but they gave us 4 episodes, and once you see it,
I will say I tried to make an effort for a long time of like just saying, something at some point something crazy is going to happen. But of course, if I'm saying that, you kind of assume it's in the 4th episode. Why else would they have shown us the episode after something crazy happens? So, yeah. And also, Thank you, Nick Morgan.
Is that a Giants Texas thing? What the heck is that about?
That yeah, I don't know.
Explain yourself, Mr. Morgan. Or are you a captain? Okay, well, I'm excited. I'm exhausted just thinking of your schedule for the next 2 weeks. So, good luck, Mac.
Thank you.
This show may be moving around a whole lot to accommodate all the crazy, but we'll try and keep you posted. We'll try and keep you posted as to when and where and what it's going to look like. But we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it. I will probably, just hit my bed and not get up for about 2 days after it's all said and done, but definitely looking forward to it. And I, as always, rely on you to tell me what else is going on with LP on our live schedule coming up.
Yeah, I just pulled that up. And we're going to have Star Wars headlines tomorrow at this time. And that's about it. It's spring break, so we're trying not to get our park people killed. But then next week, not even necessarily just, live videos, but there's a lot going on next week, actually leading, until October. So things really start picking up next Monday, it looks like. I will say, join us Friday at 10 for the premiere of Mike's Antiquities Part 3, his story-driven series based off of Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Also, we have some excitement about your hat as well.
My hat? Oh, this is my favorite hat because it's my life. Everything I love begins. Never mind. Also next Tuesday, you're going to be up at 8 a.m. Pacific time to cover the Hasbro Marvel stream, which is, I believe, the first one of the year.
You might be right about that.
So, we'll see what's coming from those guys. Yeah,
I'm excited for that. Hopefully, find out more about that Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure. Yeah, I'm excited. Excited to see what else is coming from Hasbro as well.
Cool. Well, stay tuned, and thanks so much, Mac.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.